So, what is trafficking? Dictionary.com would say it's the practice of dealing or trading in a commodity or service, often an illegal one. We've all heard of gun trafficking, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, all of those things. They all have that in common. But when we talk about puppy trafficking, the commodity, if you will, the puppies or the dogs, are not necessarily illegal themselves. Something can be trafficked even if the thing itself is not necessarily illegal. Often it's the sale or transport of that commodity that may be illegal or unethical. But in all cases, trafficking always entails exploitation for profit. Trafficking is driven by demand. Any of you seen the film Field of Dreams? If you build it, they will come. Trafficking is a case of if you want it, you can get it. So domestic puppy trafficking, what that looks like is these are organizations that buy from unlicensed breeders often. They transport at the lowest cost without regard to health and safety, which goes back to the disease control conversation, but we'll also talk a little bit more about transportation. Puppy traffickers take advantage of differing state laws. One example is with regard to the minimum age at which a puppy or kitten, for that matter, can be sold. About half of the states in the US have laws requiring a minimum age for puppies and kittens to be sold. And most of those are 8 weeks. But the other half of the states that have no laws around it, a trafficker could presumably pick up dozens and dozens of puppies from these states that have no laws against picking these puppies up at 6 or 7 weeks, and transporting them either to other states that have no laws around the minimum age, or to states where there is a law, but that by the time they get there, the puppy or kitten is of that 8-week age. It's important for a couple of reasons, the example that I just gave. One is that the health risks of separating a puppy from its mother before 8 weeks are significant. And it is a known issue that it can create behavior problems in the animals late in life. It is never a good idea to take puppies or kittens away from their mothers before the age of 8 weeks, and ideally, 12 weeks is best. And so the puppy traffickers take advantage of these different laws across the states to make their money, and they'll sell to the highest bidder regardless of the outcome for the dog or puppy. And what this means is they may be trafficking puppies for research facilities. They may be trafficking puppies or dogs for dog fighting, or for many other uses other than for a household pet. It's basically the bottom line for puppy traffickers is the bottom line. So I promised we'd talk a little bit more about transporting and how the puppy traffickers do that. This first image is from an accident that occurred in Idaho. And there were 48 dogs in this box truck with no ventilation, and 14 of them were killed in this accident. And so, for those of you who may not have heard the term box truck, it's basically your U-Haul or Home Depot or Enterprise, like you see here, moving truck. It's basically meant to move goods, not to move animals. And this particular puppy trafficker, the people who were driving this truck um, had no knowledge of dogs or puppies. They were not part of a rescue group or a shelter. They were just some individuals looking to make a buck. There were dozens of dogs that were seized. Also, this image is of dogs that were seized after being found also in a truck with no ventilation. Many of these dogs are also transported without food and water, rest stops. Any of the animals that perish while in transit are generally left in the transport vehicle, and so the dogs that remain are transported with the animals that, as I say, have perished. So this image then is of a few of 50 dogs that were seized in transit from Texas to Wisconsin. And you can imagine that is a long, long, long drive, long transport. And these animals also did not have food, water, rest stops. They were trafficked. Again, exploitation for profit. And we're not going to talk about international importation or issues around that, but it is a big problem. It's estimated that about 1 million dogs per year come in from other countries, many of them from China, South Korea, other parts of Asia where it's common to use dogs for food. This particular image is 800 dogs that are on their way to a slaughterhouse in China. So people see these images, good people, good-hearted people who want to do good, and they save these dogs, bring them into the US, and they very often carry diseases with them, certainly behavioral issues. And while a life has been saved, it's questionable whether or not that's a good life.